Hello, welcome to this video from Mastering Linguistics applied to the teaching of the English language from Universidad Autónoma de Santo Domingo. This is Learning on Point Group, composed and presented by this server, Flor González, Yudelca Jiminián, and Grace González. The topic that we are going to teach in this video is language varieties in Al-Amanah Islamic Modern College, seen from language in contact. What is the purpose of this panel? Well, the purpose of this panel is to know how the phenomena of language varieties existing in Al-Amanah Islamic Modern College, including the forms, the factors, and the acceptability in English speakers societies. Each country has a specific language. These four countries, Russia, Indonesia, India, and South Africa, have something in common. They are multilingual countries. In the case of Indonesia, in 2012, Indonesia had 546 languages, and it is assumed that the number of languages in Indonesia will increase in each year. Therefore, if a country has a lot of languages, it can be ensured that language varieties exist. Now, what is language variety in terms of definition? Language variety is a variation of using a language, and it includes the dialect, the accent, and the style. And the language varieties often appear in bilingual speakers or multilingual ones. For example, in the Al-Amanah Islamic Modern College, the students must speak in more than two languages. This is a must for the students in order to get into the college. Now, what's the difference between monolingual, bilingual, and multilingual community? The monolingual refers to people or groups who are able to use only one language. The bilingual refers to people or groups who are able to use two languages. And the multilingual community means that that community has more than two languages to speak and to communicate each other. The purpose of this study is to describe the language varieties of Al-Amanah Islamic Modern College students seen from language in contact. To know why the students of Al-Amanah Islamic Modern College use those kind of language varieties, and to know to what extent the students' language varieties can be accepted in the English speakers society. In order to make this study, the descriptive qualitative method was used. And why was this method used? Well, this method was used to obtain systematical description and accurate data, which are dynamic, complex, and need very deep understanding. The subject of the study were the students of Al-Amanah Islamic Modern College, and the reason that they were chosen is because they are required to be able to communicate in foreign language. Just as I mentioned at the few minutes ago, that they have to learn or speak more than two languages in order to enter to the college. One of the purposes is to know what extent the students' language varieties can be accepted in the English speakers society. And in order to reinforce this topic or this purpose, students from Russia, Brazil, United States of America, and Australia were used before, of course, and over the students of the Al-Amanah College. Now, the data of the study, the data that this study used was linguistics data, information data, and the assessment data. In the linguistics data, what was used here are the language varieties which were used by the students of Al-Amanah Islamic Modern College. The information as data means that the data which are needed are related to the language varieties. And finally, the assessment data covered the reasons why the students produced it and the number of Al-Amanah Islamic Modern College students and the year when English began to be spoken. The techniques applied in this study were the observation, the interview, questionnaire, and assessments. The type of observation used in this study was participative active observation, which means that both enjoy the part of the participation in the observation. The type of interview was semi-structured interview. The questionnaire, this was conducted to know the language varieties and the levels of phonemes, phrases, and sentences. And assessment, the assessment sheet was based on the Likert scales model, which are acceptable or non-acceptable. The final part of this research method was with data analysis, and it presents some steps how to analyze the data, in this case Miles and Habermas. They used the data analysis models, and this was the one applied in this study. And they wrote in their book that there are 3 steps to analyze the data. And those 3 steps are data production, data display, conclusion, and verification, which we will see at the end of this great part of a study. I hope that you keep enjoying with my partners.
Now we're going to be talking about language variety phenomena seen from Language in Contact, presented by Yudelca Jiminián. Language in contact occurs when 2 or more languages or varieties interact. It occurs in a variety of phenomena: creation of new languages, crystallization and mixed languages, strata influence, language shift, borrowing of vocabulary. Language varieties in Al-Amanah Islamic Modern College. This is the university where this study is focused on. Students' English is based on Surabaya and Sidoarjo dialect. An example of this is the students in this university producing interrogative sentences such as taken, calling, striking, etc. instead of take, call, strike, etc. The EN morpheme usually appears in Surabaya and Sidoarjo Javanese. We also have some phenomena caused by language contact, which are multilingualism, interferences, code switching and code mixing, integration, convergence, pidgin and Creole, and language shift. First of all, let's talk about multilingualism. As we already know, multilingualism has to do with a speaker who can speak more than 2 languages. The students of Al-Amanah Islamic Modern College are a multilingual community. They live together in a place and they can speak in more than 2 languages. Language interferences. The first language interference or language transfer occurs when a learner's primary language influences his or her progress in the secondary language. There are many types of interferences. However, in Al-Amanah Islamic Modern College, only 3 types have been found, which are phonological interference, morphological interference, and syntactical interference. The phonological interference is about the different pronunciation that they give the words. Example, the English words begin with V sound is changed to BF, such as in the word very, which is pronounced as furry. The morphological is the use of affixes which are taken from another language. As we can see here, commonly appear in Surabaya and Sidoarjo Javanese, which mean other, en, o, and passive, di, and di, and I. However, the syntactical is a structure of another language is applied to construct the language which is spoken. In this case, another language means Javanese, while spoken language is English. Language integration can be called as integration when a language is adopted by another language and it's used in the recipient as its own. The word which was found in Al-Amanah Islamic College, which is related to the example of integration, is siren, such as in the student's audience, "Don't gossip my siren." Siren actually comes from Javanese. Then it is adopted by English and it is used as its own language. We know that word integration, when we look for the word in the dictionary and we find the word, siren was integrated to the English dictionary. Code switching and code mixing. Code switching. This phenomenon happens when the speaker switches from a language to another in the complete sentences in the same time and under one conversation. As we can see here in this example, they are switching from Japanese to English. So they are using two different languages. Code mixing. This one happens when a speaker mixes one language with another within a sentence. Like in this example, this bowl, this is English, and the rest of the sentence is Japanese. So they're mixing two languages. About language convergence, it occurs in geographic areas with two or more unrelated languages in contact. This happens when the speakers change the way they speak because of the influence of other speakers' way of speaking. The students of Al-Amanah Islamic Modern College have different understandable and ability in mastering English. They use English which is influenced by Surabaya and Sidoarjo Javanese and nascent rather than other types of languages in their communication. Pidgin and Creole. Pidgin refers to the language varieties. In Al-Amanah Islamic Modern College, English is in contact with Javanese. These mixed languages create a new language variety which is known as Pidgin, as it doesn't have any native speakers. However, Creole is the opposite of Pidgin, which is used as a mother tongue. It is clear that the English of Al-Amanah nowadays is named as Creole rather than Pidgin. To wind up with this part of the presentation, we have language shift. Language shift concerns with the use of language by the speaker or a group of speakers caused by migration from one speech community to another. It is due to the fact that Al-Amanah Islamic Modern College obliges the student to speak in English. They must put their ethnic languages away. However, if the Islamic College doesn't oblige the student to use English, the phenomenon of language shift never occurs. Thanks for your attention. Now, I'm going to leave you with my partner, Flor González, who's going to continue with the rest of the presentation.
The factors of the language varieties existence multilingualism, Javanese as the majority. My name is Flor González and I'm going to present this topic. There are two problems which cause the existence of language varieties in Al-Amanah Islamic Modern College. They are lack of vocabularies and lack of English grammar knowledge. The lack of vocabulary can cause a phenomenon known as code mixing, that it is when a speaker mixes two languages. And the second problem is the lack of grammar. Students have shown that not knowing certain grammar is a serious problem. Most of them don't even know how to make a correct sentence. Another factor of the improper English that students of this college have shown is the habit. When I refer to habit, I'm talking about the lack of habit that students have to produce good English while speaking. In other words, it means that they don't practice enough to produce good English. Something that influences in the lack of practicing is that students make a combination of some languages at the same time and they mix it with English. In the university, there are great students who are able to speak English well, but they also make those combinations because of the other partners. One of the rules of the college is that students have to speak English in certain times, but they don't have to speak proper English. Some students mention that that is another reason of the bad English they have. The language varieties acceptability based on the four foreigners. The assessments by the four foreigners who come from different countries stated that the language varieties of the students of this college are unacceptable. In plain English, it means that English, which is influenced by the dialect and the accent of an ethnic language, cannot be understood. In conclusion, we can say that the language varieties which are considered acceptable in Al-Amanah Islamic Modern College, in fact, are unacceptable for the foreigners. In this study, some conclusions and suggestions are given. There are some factors which cause the existence of language varieties in Al-Amanah Islamic Modern College, seen from language in contact. Firstly, it is multilingualism. Secondly, the lack of vocabulary and grammar knowledge, which are experienced by the students. Also, the lack of practice that students show. Last but not least, the role of Islamic college also becomes the factor, stating that students are not suited to speak in the standard English. However, the important one is that they can speak in English, no matter whether their English is influenced by the Javanese or not. Some suggestions. As an institution orienting on English as the foreign language for daily communication, Al-Amanah Islamic Modern College should improve the system to be better, especially for the use of English. It can be the rule stating that the students must be able to speak in correct English rather than only to speak in English, no matter if their English is correct or not.